Okay, guys, we're back, okay, with part two. Okay, here I'm basically going to be focusing on the question two. I think this might go a little bit faster. Okay, in the section part one, we basically went through questions 1A and 1B. So the student at the moment is sitting with about 13 out of 25. Hopefully that's basically giving them a little bit more time to spend on question two. You're going to, your paper is 2 hours, 15 minutes, okay? You want to finish section one or pay a question one, within that 60 minutes, and anytime you got to spare, you want to spend on your question two, okay? You want that 60, that 75 minutes, spending as much time on question two as is possible. But without further ado, let's get on. Okay, so this is the Helen Go text. Again, guys, I've done videos on this. You're welcome to basically download the paper. I'll see if I could find a way to put links to it in the bottom of the video here. So, the student has started out the same as they did in their paper one. Guys, these are two separate questions. They need two different approaches. There's not a cut and paste. Every student's going to write their text differently. But this might be the way the student likes to start, so maybe it works for them. So let's go and have a look. So their focus is on the purpose of the text, to be inspirational. I agree. To inspire, you've already said that. Okay, don't waste time by repeating yourself. To be inspirational. To those who are going through rough times, to keep going. I don't know if that was clear. It was an article in a text introducing the writer to her audience. So I don't know. It was inspirational, but I don't think that the audience of the people reading the article needed to keep going through rough times. That was not clear to me in the text at all. However, at the same time, it is meant to entertain via the use of humor and informal language used by Helen Go. Now, again, I'm already worried here because the trick to this text was basically understanding that Helen Go did not write the article. The text was about Helen Go. It was the writer introducing Helen Go. It almost seems as if the writer is trying to talk about conventions of an article, but they are not precise, they are not clear in it, and it's going to hurt the student in the marks. The purpose of the text is to be inspirational, to inspire those who are, no, I've got to disagree with that, okay? And there's no supporting, there's nothing that can support that, I don't think. However, at the same time, the tone of the text is very awe-filled, which conveys how the author of the article feels towards Go. This matches with the informal and chatty register, which captures the audience's attention and its energy it creates. Again, guys, think about what you are writing. Okay, when you are writing practice papers for your teacher, okay, do me one big favor. Read what you've done out loud. The tone of the text is very awe-filled, which conveys how the author of the article feels towards Go. Really? I don't get that. Okay? And there's no support there to show, how does it do it? And I'm not very happy with that. It matches, so the text is awe-filled, which is created by informal and chatty register, the language that is used within the text. And then it captures the audience attention. It's too much information. It's not precise. It is not clear. It is not direct. Additionally, I like the connective. The primary audience, good, the main audience of the text, who are those people that are interested in the culinary world. We know that that is probably right because of what they tell us in the context. The secondary audience could possibly be those who are interested in the people behind the Ottolenghi Cafe. I don't know. How would they know that the article is about the Ottolenghi Cafe? unless they read the article. The title doesn't say, this article is also about the Ottolenghi Cafe. So I disagree there as well. I don't think that is very precise. I don't think that is well thought through. The form of the text is that of an article and an autobiography. Okay. We know it's an article because they tell us it's an article. It may have aspects of an autobiography, which is possible. The key conventions of an article is that it would be the background information provided about Go's life, as well as the striking title, which contains the pun, is sweet on, to sound humorful, and foreshadows what the reader can expect to read. Again, guys, be precise, be direct, point, evidence, explain. Okay, this is a whole lot of ideas all over the place. They could have been done a lot better if they were just better thought through. It also has key facts like dates, 2006, 1990s, 1196. Again, guys, how is that a key fact? It is dates. The writer's use of dates, that sounds more like chronology. And we know that chronology is important in a structure. And this text structure and chronology are vitally for discussion. They're way open for discussion. Again, not planning about what you are writing. You need to annotate your text, plan your text, know what you're going to be writing about. If you're going to be discussing the key conventions, then discuss the key conventions. Okay? The pun, why? Is the title, or how does the title and the pun and the key conventions and background information, how does it all connect? It's a whole random set of ideas that do not connect. Additionally, the changing dates convey that the text is in a non-chronological order. This is to allow the reader to focus on key moments to Go's success. Okay, again, yes, you've got good ideas here, but it's not effective in the way that you're expressing yourself. The text tends to switch between first and third person for deliberate effect of retelling the past. How does the writer do that? Okay, how does the writer do that? Again, don't just throw things down on the page and hope that the examiner is going to go, woohoo, lots of ideas. Okay, be deliberate and precise. This allows the narrator to bring the audience closer or to move them away from the events in the story. Why? How? What is the purpose? What is the effect on the reader? What impact does it have on the text? In order to share information from different points of view. Well, we know that because the text is basically told from the writer of the article, but they use, okay, direct speech by Go. That is a discussion point about perspective. Okay, it's been lost in this discussion about key conventions and the use of a pun and chronological order. Do not try and basically be a tin of baked beans where you're trying to shove all the baked beans in and hoping that basically when you empty the can of baked beans out that it's going to make sense. Those baked beans just flow into each other and they are meaningless. As well as using these pronouns, which pronouns, no point, no evidence, no explain, makes the passage of information feel more personal to the audience. Yes, you are right. That use of that direct speech by Go when she tells the story from her own perspective, it helps the audience connect with Go. The text says, I am introducing Helen Go to you, my readers. Okay? Think, think, think. Okay? So far in that, this has not been very effective. Lots of ideas, but there's no purpose in what the student is doing when they're writing them. They're not thinking, they're not writing them down, they're not being precise, they're not being direct. Point, evidence, explain. Tenses. Okay, so this might go back to the chronology, shift between past and present tense, no examples given. This allows the narrator to take the audience back and forward in time to convey the journey while adding background information for the audience. Is that the key convention you're discussing now? The paragraph sizes, now we're moving on to a structural device, tended to be averaged. What does average mean? And it is vague, unspecific, a steady growth of information, vague and unspecific. How does it inspire the readers? Take a steady steam train approach instead of shortcuts to success. I get what the idea is. Again, no point, no evidence, no explanation. It's not clear. Furthermore, another structural device. I didn't even know you were discussing a structural device. Be precise, be direct. Is dialogue, which is a key convention of an interview. Is it? Okay. So is this an interview? Is this an article? I thought you told us it was an article. So is it an interview? Be clear, be precise. To metaphorically experience go as if you are answering in front of them. Direct speech, repetition. Okay, by talking about the same things over and over again, just in different ways, pulls the audience in. Biggest mistake, I'm lost. There's very little I can take to award marks there. Cyclical cycle, what is that? Is that a structural device? Okay. Cakes and troubled minds, whilst ending with something like psychology and baking, conveys to the audience that they should do something as they love as to keep their mental health boosted. Structure of your sentences, language, no planning, no thinking, and no checking your work. Furthermore, some of the readers may find this relatable to be inclined to build a stronger connection with the text. Pulls them in. Again, the idea of cakes and troubled minds, psychology and baking, cyclical cycle, point evidence explained, that is good. The rest of it is blah, blah, blah. And I cannot use it as an examiner to award any marks. The writer creates a climax in the middle of the text, which seems to be something that you'd find in a what type of text? Okay. By creating a contrast between the gloomy, depressed version of Go and the unexpected, successful version she became. This turning point allows the reader to become emotionally attached and engaged with the text. I agree. Think about why the writer did that. Lexical field, shoved, awful break, and 574 words. We expect the average student to be able to at least reach a minimum of 600 words. Aim for about 700 to 750 words. 600 words is the minimum that a student should be able to complete in this text. So how would we allocate a grade for this? Okay, so the text, the guidance that they give us as examiners says, analysis should address the style, form, genre, structure, language of the text. Form, structure, and language. Students can organize their response in any appropriate way. It is not required to focus on just form and then structure and then language in separate sections. It's a good idea. Okay, but it has its own complications. Okay, guys, point, evidence, explain. Okay, identify the idea, give it some evidence, show the examiner that you understand how writers create effects in writing to have an impact on the reader. Point, evidence, explain. Okay. Under form, and obviously you're not having to discuss all of these, some of these, to show that you understand generally the form of the text, the overall shape, the outside of the house. Understand what form is, understand what structure is, understand what language is. Okay, so your typical key conventions, okay, and I agree. Okay, so here it says details about the interview, fine. the fact that it seems autobiographical, what key conventions can you identify from that? The purpose of the text and the impact that the purpose has on the general structure of the way that the text is written. What is the purpose? It is to introduce. It is to be persuasive. Okay, so think about how that impacts, the purpose impacts the overall text. How it appeals to its intended audience, register, again, be clear, be precise. Some of that information was discussed. The way in which the article fits in with a particular genre of nonfiction, being culinary journalism. If you're able to identify that, very few people understood what culinary journalism is, okay? But even just the mention of foodies would have been enough. And there could have been other things about form that you might have picked up on. The non-chronological sequence, point, evidence, explain, okay? The reason, why does the writer take the reader backwards and forwards throughout her journey, okay? That is a structural device. The focus of the structural device, the movement, okay, shifts in perspective. The focus on key moments in Go's life. And there were other structural devices within the text. But those are the ones that the average student is going to identify in the text. And then the language devices, juxtaposition, the use of the pun, the use of imperatives, okay, anecdotes, okay, shifts in tense. And these things are good, but you've got to have the point, the evidence, the explain. So, what kind of mark am I allocating on this? It's going to be a tough one, guys. Is there a clear understanding of the text? Okay. Is there a limited understanding of the text? I can tell you now, basically, looking at this text, handwritten, an examiner might immediately estimate that the student is below the 600 minimum 600 words that we expect from students. So the examiner might immediately just go straight to limited, and there you go, 10 out of 25, and you're done. However, there were some good aspects, okay, within the text. Is there analysis clear, coherent, and well structured? I disagree. I say no, it's not. Is there some selection of form, structure, and language? I'll say yes, there is. Is there an awareness of the writer's choice and how the writer's choice affects the reader and shapes the overall text? I'd say to a certain degree. Okay. Is the language appropriate, the way that they're linking evidence? No, I don't think so. Okay. Has the student used the correct language when that we need in analysis? Okay. So identifying the use of a personal pronoun, identifying the use of an extended metaphor, identifying the use. And that is where basically this student is basically going to get that 10 out of 25, which basically leaves the student with a total of 25 out of 50, which is basically a mark of about 50% for this text. Okay, so for their paper one, they got a 50%, which is probably going to be about a D grade, okay, a D or a low C, okay, and that is basically what this text is here, okay. So I hope but let's have a look at how we can prepare for the exams that are coming up. First thing I'm going to tell you guys is read. Read stories, read magazine articles, read reviews, read news articles, read diaries, read leaflets, read the texts in the practice papers. Read. It's going to develop your vocabulary. You're going to see how other writers do things. Read, 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 read. Study your key conventions. Every single day, you're going to study one set of key conventions for every text, okay? Until you know it off by heart. Study all your language devices. I've got videos on language devices. I've got videos on structural devices. I've got videos on key conventions. So is teacher Adna. Study them, study them, study them, study them. They'll be in your textbooks. They're on the internet. Okay? Go through your notes from class. When you were studying with your teacher, you were making notes. Go through your notes. Study your notes. English is a study subject. You cannot get away from this. If you're watching this video now and you're writing exams in May, okay, this is being January, you are studying, creating study notes now. Go through your textbook, okay? Read the mark schemes. You saw how helpful these mark schemes can be in identifying language devices. Use those language devices. Think about, okay, I've seen this in some text. I can use it in my own writing, or I can write about it. The use of colloquial language, contractions, tense shifts. That is what they're looking for those higher levels, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? Use of the third person. It's that language. You've got to use the correct language. Okay. Write practice papers, okay? But make sure you're asking for feedback from whoever's marking your practice papers, and then read that feedback. Okay? Rewrite the same paper based on the information from that feedback. Ask questions. Ask me questions. Ask your teacher questions. Ask your fellow students questions. Okay? Watch the videos from Teacher Adna on Angulearn. Watch Mrs. Imran's videos on AS Level English. Watch Crazy Teacher Nick's videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay? Because guys, the more people that share these videos, the more questions we'll have. Okay? So I'm begging of you, please share with your classmates, share with your teachers. Your teachers are welcome to drop me an email. I'll put my email down underneath. Okay, they can ask me questions. I'm always happy to share any materials I have with teachers. Okay, I'm always happy to answer students' questions to the best of my ability. Write your questions down below. Drop me an email with your questions and I will try and help you. Okay, guys, you rock. Be awesome. And thank you very much for pushing the subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching the video. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Peace out.